Shalom and welcome to another episode in our series called Picture This from Israel. Today we're at the very southern end of the country of Israel at a place called Timnah, where there is a full-size scale of the tabernacle displayed here. We're going to explore it together and see if we can picture ourselves as an ancient Israelite wandering in the desert of Sinai. I want you to picture yourself as an ancient Israelite. You've just crossed the Yam Suf, the Red Sea, and now God gives instructions to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, this portable place called the tent of meeting, where God met with his people. Now, this location at Timnah here, about 20 miles north of the Red Sea, north of Eilat, provides a perfect place, I think, where the geography and the topography match pretty closely to what Sinai or that area where the Israelites wandered. I believe that this is a perfect place for this model. So as we understand the challenges of course, moving as a large group through the desert, wherever we may place that desert, I want us to picture ourselves maintaining this tabernacle. We're going to go inside and enter the Mishkan from the east. So I want you to picture yourself as walking into the courtyard of this tabernacle. The size of it was 150 feet long by 75 feet wide. You can see behind me the curtains, the posts, acacia wood that was prominent in the desert was used. And this courtyard is where you would bring your animal for sacrifice, or your pigeon, or your grain offering. And you can see behind me the length of this tabernacle. Picture yourself as someone with humility. You are now in this courtyard and you're handing your sacrifice to the priest, who takes it and offers it to God as a sacrifice. This is a good representation of the horned altar. Notice 4 horns on each corner where the blood of the sacrificed animal was placed. When the temple would be built in Jerusalem by Solomon, of course, the altar also was made in similar fashion. Incidentally, 3 examples of the horns of the real altar at Shiloh, about 20 miles north of Jerusalem, have been found archaeologically. Let's now talk about this laver. This is where the priests would purify themselves before they would go inside this holy chamber. Made with the melted copper or bronze of the women's mirrors. And now the holy chamber itself. Let's go inside and take a look at what is contained in this holy chamber. But picture yourself as an Israelite. Perhaps there were many people, no doubt, who were responsible for not just building it, but maintaining it and certainly carrying it. And just another glance at these posts. Really well done, according to the biblical specifications that we read about in the scriptures, the Holy or the Hebrew Bible. I believe about 50 chapters are dedicated to the building and the maintenance of this tabernacle. Let's go inside and see what we can observe there. Now I want you to try to picture yourself as a priest. You are given the honor to come into this holy chamber, and we're going to open up the curtain on this eastern side and see what is in this room. Again, built to specification according to the instructions given by God to Moses. We see a number of things in here. Let's start with the menorah. The menorah lampstand. The 7-branch candelabra made of gold. The wicks used here were the garments of the priests after those garments no longer were usable. The table of presence. We know it as the table of showbread. That's a King James version. This table of presence represented God's provision in representing the loaves of manna that God provided in the desert. The incense altar, again horned, but yet about 10 or 12 different types of incense offered a fragrance to God, as the priest would also, just similar to keeping the menorah lit, this incense altar also would continually burn these fragrances to God. Once a year, on Yom Kippur, the horns would be anointed with the blood of the sacrificed lamb. And then in this corner is represented the high priest. Picture yourself as the high priest with the ephod on, the breastplate, representing the 12 tribes, the blue garment, and even at the bottom of the garment, the bells in the shape of a pomegranate. If you were the high priest, once a year you would have the privilege of going into the Holy of Holies, which is right behind this curtain, flanked with cherubim. And yet before we do that, notice that the ceiling of this holy chamber would also be displaying the cherubim as well. Different colors, and again, the outer curtain of this holy chamber. But picture yourself now on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, where you would enter this holy chamber, a solemn day, but you would part these curtains and into the Holy of Holies you would go. The Ark of the Covenant would be displayed here. Again, the cherubim most likely facing each other. This ark made of acacia wood, but yet also, as we see, carried on poles. And the high priest, if you were serving in that role, you would bring Again, the blood of the sacrificed lamb, and apply that to the mercy seat, the cover of this Ark of the Covenant. If we dare to open the Ark, if you recall, was the budded staff of Aaron the high priest, and the tablets that Moses received on Sinai, and manna. Picture yourself in this room on this holy day where you are anointing the mercy seat with the blood of the sacrificed lamb. It must have been a solemn experience year after year for the person serving as the high priest. It's really an incredible experience to be able to picture this holy chamber, and knowing that Hebrews 9 tells us that this earthly old tabernacle was no longer used. Sacrifices didn't need to be made year after year. The table of presence, the menorah, the incense altar. And certainly, as the author of Hebrews tells us, the role of the high priest was now fulfilled and accomplished by Jesus, who became our high priest by virtue of himself going to the cross of Calvary. The redemptive cord, if you will, that we see all the way through scriptures, I think is really seen in their ultimate fulfillment as we understand that Jesus serves as our high priest, and we are made holy because of him. We place our faith in him and what he has accomplished on the cross for us, and the Ark of the Covenant no longer is needed. In fact, Jeremiah, back in the days of the Hebrew Bible, in chapter 3, tells us that the ark will no longer be needed, nor will it be remembered. So we celebrate what Christ has accomplished, and how all of this tabernacle, the courtyard, the altar, the laver, and all that is contained in this holy chamber, and even in the Holy of Holies, is ultimately fulfilled by Jesus. I invite you to read through Hebrews 9 to get a good grasp and a deeper appreciation for what Jesus has accomplished for us through his death and his resurrection. Until next time, shalom.